Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Absol100 here, coming at you today with a Yugioh Deck Profile. Today's deck profile is going to be on my Cyber-Machina Gears deck. A deck that I've worked on for a long time. I recently did do a deck profile of this deck before, but that was many months ago. I want to say probably towards the beginning of last year, maybe, during the March format. But I'm giving you guys a revamped version of that deck into today's, so that it's playable for today's format. And I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know in the comments on what you think of the deck itself at the end of the video, and what any changes and recommendations is also welcome. If you want to give me any criticism, I can take any criticism on this deck at all that you guys have. I'm open to any changes or any recommendations that you guys can help me with. But other than that, I'm going to get into the deck. Let me know what you guys think at the end of the video. Like this video if you like seeing a deck that's completely unique, which is basically what this deck is. And also subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Without further ado, I'll get into the deck profile. Alright, so this is my Cyber-Machina Gears deck. For those of you that haven't seen my last deck profile on this, then you probably don't know what this deck is supposed to be. But it's basically an entirety machine deck that summons big monsters and attacks for game by eliminating my opponent's monsters and or life points down to 0 as fast as possible. Basically, summon big monsters and go for game from there. The main theme of the deck is using some of the Cyber engine, some of the Machina engine, and some of the Ancient Gear engine. Basically, but the main stars of it are basically the monsters of the entire deck as a whole. Excuse me. I'm going to go into the deck real quick, and I'll give you some brief explanations along the way. Alright, for the starters, for the cyber portion of the deck, I'm running 2 Malefic Cyber End Dragons. This is the main 4,000 beater of the deck. It's an instant Machina Fortress summon. If you don't have a field spell active, you can just discard this to summon a Machina Fortress. And but if you do have a field spell on hand, an instant 4,000 beater, and if your opponent has nothing on the field, which would be surprising, and you have a field spell and limiter removal in hand, activate field spell, summon Malefic Cyber End, attack, damage step, limiter removal, instant game over. And so 2 Malefic Cyber Ends and a single Cyber Dragon. If you guys seen my deck profile of this deck before, you would see that I was running, I think, 2 or at least 3 of these Cyber Dragons, because I felt Cyber Dragon was equally awesome, and almost nothing about it I disliked it about having 3 of them. But for this format, I had to decrease. I thought about running triplicates of it, but I decided to decrease it down to 1 because it's an instant 2100 beater when I need it, and also it helps me clear the field of other machines that are on the field, such as I can use this to clear a field of Draco Stacks. I can use this to clear a field of Gear Gears, gadgets, any other machine-based deck that I run into. With this deck, if I draw a Cyber Dragon, I can instantly wipe out their field and summon Hieratic Fortress Dragon. So a single Cyber Dragon, it's worked really well in this deck, and I don't think it'll ever be minus from this deck ever. So that's it for the Cyber portion of the deck. Onto the Machina portion. Basically the standard Machina engine, 3 Machina Fortresses, and 3 Machina Gearframes. They're basically the heart of the deck. You basically want to summon Gearframe, get your search off, and summon Fortress as best you can. And also, for those of you that don't realize that Gearframe is also a union monster, you can basically summon Gearframe, and if you have a Fortress or a Malefic Cyber End or any of your other machines out on the field, you can use his union effect and equip it to the machine as like an extra shield. Basically, you don't gain anything. That's kind of a downer a little bit, but the big thing is you want to try and keep your big machines alive as long as possible. So Gearframe helps with that. Also, he's a good little level 4 for some XCs and synchro plays, which I'll get to in a bit. That's it for the Machina portion. And for the gear portion, for the first half of it, I'm running 2 Ancient Gear Gadjiltron dragons. He's for almost any machine beatdown or any kind of beatdown deck or anti-meta deck of any kind that would run gear towns or some of the other aspects. This card is really helpful because it's 3,000, it's big, it's also a machine, it's level 8, it allows me an instant Machina Fortress, and when Gear Town's destroyed, I can instantly summon this card from anywhere, except for from the banished pile, but oh well. It does have extra effects, but that involves while it's used in gadgets, but I haven't really enjoyed using him with gadgets, but my own version of a machine deck, which is this one, works just fine. But 2 Gadjiltron dragons. That's it for the Cyber-Machina deck portion of the deck, and for the rest of the support and the rest of the deck, 2 card troopers helps me get through the deck as quick as possible. It's an instant 1900 beater, and once destroyed, I get a plus off of it. Symphonic Warrior bases. This is the only tuner of the deck. What this card does is, based on how many cards you have in your hand, this card's level can increase by that many cards in your hand. So if I have 3 cards in hand, it's an instant level 4. And also, if I have 6 cards in hand, it becomes an instant level 7 for a rank 7 Xyz play as well. It's a nifty little tuner, and it's worked pretty good in this deck. My one tech choice, Gigantes. This is basically a walking heavy storm. You just banish an earth monster from your grave and clash into a monster. If you want to try and get rid of your opponent's back row entirely, you just go special summon Gigantes, clash into a monster that's bigger than it, and it'll get destroyed, and the effect will go off, destroying your opponent's field instantly. And also, it's a great Xyz material as well. If you summon a Gearframe or you have Symphonic Warrior in hand, you just normal summon Symphonic Warrior or Gearframe. If you have bases on the field, you use its effect first, and then summon Gigantes for rank 4 Xyz. But other than that, Gigantes has worked pretty good so far in this deck. 1 Redox, because why not? And I'm kind of glad that Redox is at 1, but even if it wasn't at 1, I would still only run 1 in this deck, because I don't want to get too clunky with this card, because I don't really need it in this deck, but when I draw it, it really helps, because it's a nice little monster reborn, or walking monster reborn in the sense. Redox just helps really well. And also, for an instant rank 7, or at least for the fact I'm getting a Machina Fortress out, if you don't have like a Gearframe and if you draw a hand that's full of spells and a Machina Fortress and this, it's basically a free Fortress. You just activate Redox's effect, discard it and Fortress, and you can special summon Redox or Fortress. If you want to special summon Redox, you can special summon Defense for 3,000 wall. So Redox has worked pretty well in this deck as well. I don't think I have any regrets on putting him in here. And then for the rest of the monster lineup, 2 Scarecrows. OTK decks are a problem. I love this card because most people don't expect it, especially now this format where it's going to be really slow with all the Fire Fists, the Buchins, and a lot of other decks running around that somewhat slow down the deck a bit and slow down the game drastically. But I still like this card a lot. It saves me a couple turns or so, and also it's a machine target for Fortress. If I have Fortress and this in hand, and I feel I can survive without it, I can just discard it and a Fortress and special summon Fortress from there. But other than that, Swift Scarecrow really helps a lot in tight situations. And then 2 Max C, and that ends the monster lineup. The reason I'm running Max C still for this format even though it's slow, a lot of decks that I would run into, I would rather effect failure over the Max C, but that would happen in games 2 and 3. Like if I face Fire Fist, Max C is irrelevant. But the reason I'm maining Max C is because if I start off a game and I run into Yugioh Karakuri, Hieratic Dragon Rulers, I don't know why you Dragon Ruler players are abusing the heck out of the Hieratic engine. Because I love the Hieratic engine the way it is, and I don't want to see it go away because of Dragon Rulers. Or get ruined. But anyways, that's my whole little rant on what the hint of that deck that is rising on the scene, so to speak. But I love Max C because if I run into Mermails or any other highly special summon deck, and I have this game 1, I already have an out to try and stop them, or if they keep on special summoning, I get pluses all day long with Max C. Max C helps really well. Against other decks like Fire Fist and Bujins, it's not good. It helps a little bit. You probably get a single draw off of it, but other than that, it works fine. That's it for the monster lineup, 20 monsters and all, and I'll go through the rest of the main deck real quick. Book of Moon, Dark Hole, limiter removal. For the field spells, I got Seal of Orichalcos, extra 500 point boost, why not? And I rarely go into the extra deck much with this deck anyways, so it helps in the long run, no matter what. And then the triple Gear Towns, you guys know what this card does. This card's awesome. 3 Pot of Dualities for consistency. And then 3 MSTs for back row removal. That's it for the spells. And onto the traps. Very small trap lineup, but it works alright in the sense. Or works great, actually. The 1-ofs, we got Bottomless, Compulse, Mirror Force, Solemn Warning, and Torrential Tribute. And then the final 2 cards, 2 Royal Decrees. This card's amazing. This card helps me go off, helps me finish the game as fast as I can. Because against a lot of decks right now, a lot of decks are running a lot of traps. A lot of traps means this deck is somewhat hindered, really bad. And this card helps a lot. It just, almost words can't describe on how good this card is, this format. It just, it stops my opponent from activating any traps. Sure, it's susceptible to back row removals, such as in Fire Fist, Gorilla. It's susceptible to MST. It's susceptible to other back row removal cards. But this card helps a lot. I'd recommend you guys at least running this in your main deck, if not at least your side deck for this format. And for this deck alone, it works well in the main deck. That's it for the main deck. It's 40 cards in all, and I'm going to go through the extra deck and the side deck real quick. There's almost no explanation for a majority of the cards, so I'll just go through them real quick. 1, Hieratic Fortress Dragon, and then 2 Cyber Dragons, the only fusions of the entire extra deck. For the Synchros, since I'm running a single tuner that can change the level, 1 Catastor, Black Rose, Crimson Blader, Scrap Dragon, and Stardust Dragon. As for the Synchros, for the XCs, we've got Abyss Dweller, Cowboy, Maestroke, Photon Popple Operative. And then for the rank 7s, we've got Gaia Dragon and Big Eye. And now for the 15th card, it can be either one of these 2. It can be Divine Dragon, Knight Felgrand, or Garrett Giga Nyx. The reason I have Felgrand as an option is because it's less possible for you to make a rank 8, but it is possible anyways, because you can summon a Gadjiltron Dragon, and if you don't have a Redox, you can use a Machina Cannon, and you can just use Machina Cannon's special summon ability to special summon it, and it's also a level 8, so you can overlay into Divine Knight Felgrand. So it's basically, if you don't want to run Redox, in this deck, you can run Machina Cannon, and you can try running this deck with Felgran in the extra deck and see if you want to make him or not. But if you don't feel you make him quite as often, then I would recommend placing in Yugioh X. It's an excellent card. It helps me recycle Gearframe, Card Trooper, and especially the two important ones that I feel are necessary in the deck, in this deck, whole deck as well. My Symphonic Warrior and Swift Scarecrow. I can use this Gigan's effect to bring those two cards back to my hand, and I get to use them again. So that's really, really awesome. So it's your option if you want to run Yugioh X or Divine Dragon. If you want to run him, I would recommend minusing the Redox for a Machina Cannon and just see how it goes from there. But other than that, that's the entirety of the extra deck. And then for the side deck, a majority of it's pretty standard for this format, but I'll just go through it as much as I and give you a brief description. One Thunder King. This stops Bujins, stops Geargias a little bit, stops Fire Fists. It stops all search decks, especially Spellbooks a little bit, or at least Spellbooks a little bit, because it stops their secrets from going off, stops Blue Boy from going off, which is really neat. And also, I've run into the factor that if you're running among the other side deck cards that are in this deck, if you have Thunder King Ryo out on the field, and you have, or if your opponent has, say, Light Imprisoning or Shadow Imprisoning, I don't know why they would sign those in, or if I have those cards active out on the field, if I have at least Light Imprisoning on the field, Thunder King Ryo's continuous effect will still stay active, which is really nice. Kind of hinders me a little bit when I face a Thunder King Ryo, but it doesn't affect me completely. And then the rest of the side deck, 3 effect failures. Unlike last format, Max C was prevalent during that entire format because Dragon Rules were running amok, running around with all the special summon hiatus, I guess you want to call it however you want to call it. But Maxi basically helps you get to your combo pieces, helps you draw, and it helps tell your opponent, look, do you want to continue giving me advantage, or do you just want to stop after that first special summon? But other than that, effect failure for this format is superb. It stops effects for that turn. It's like, do you want to activate Bear? Like, you're going to activate Bear's effect? Okay, no. I'm going to stop it with effect failure. Do you want to activate, what's another good example? A Big Eye. Do you want to activate a Big Eye's effect? No. I'll stop it with effect failure. Effect failure just helps really well this format. I think it's going to be a great side deck, if not main deck card this format. With all of the with how slow this format's going to be, a majority of the decks are going to be hindered through effect failure's effect. Also, it's a level 1 tuner that helps a lot as well. And I'm running 3 effect failures, and then 1 Soul Drain. Almost like Thunder King. It's almost like the imprisoning mirrors. It stops stuff in the graveyard, but also stops stuff in the banished area as well. Stops effects from there going off. 2 Dust Tornadoes. If I'm not mistaken, I think this card was pretty prevalent in the past couple of regionals and or YCSs. So why not play Dust Tornado? And then some of the standards, 2 Lightning Imprisonings. You guys already know what this card can stop. 2 Mind Crushes. This card's great against search decks and also against Mermails. They activate an Abyss Giles effect. You chain Mind Crush, and they lose their Abyss Giles, as long as you call it. And then 2 Mind Drains. I wanted to run this card because I do know that a majority of the decks don't run a lot of hand traps, but I know which card in almost each and every of one of those decks some of them do have a hand trap effect. Against Bujins, this will stop them from activating their Bujin hand trap. I don't know what it is, but it's basically another honest, as some people call it. I don't even know the name of it. Crane. Bujinji Crane. They can't activate Bujinji Crane or Honest while this is active, so that helps me out a lot. If I want to ram into a Yamato, I can just activate this as I attack, and they can't activate any Honest or Crane. But 2 Mind Drains, and then 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors. I don't think I need to explain this card at all either. Alright guys, that's my entire Cyber-Machina Gears deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this revamped version of the entire deck that I've showcased a couple months ago. But this deck is just super awesome. It's creative in the sense that it's unique. It's a different form of a machine deck. It's, in my opinion, better than all the other machines, even though it struggles against those other machine decks such as Gears and not gadgets as much, but it could be hindered in a sense that way. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of this entire deck profile. I know this video is quite long, but it's worth it because this deck is probably my most favorite deck that I've ever created and or have played. It's just an awesome deck, and I hope you guys can see how great this deck is as well. You guys can build it yourselves if you want to try it out. I'll leave the entire deck list in the description bar below. I'll also leave a DN pick of this entire deck in its entirety in like a screen format if you want to see it that way as well. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like this video if you like seeing a unique deck, or if you like these deck profiles. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, and I guess that's it for now. Thank you for watching.